Good morning, folks. Welcome to my channel, or welcome back to my channel, whatever the case may be. Today is the 6th of March, and yeah, today's the 6th of March, and for those of you who have seen yesterday's video, I read part 1. I've read the first half of chapter 1 of a new book. And what is it called again? I know it's of the Dragonox series. Oh no, the Dragonox Saga, Kingdom of Thoyatsu by Brian Ferentz. So yes, I read the first half of it, but it is so hard to read and diamond paint at the same time. So I pre-recorded the rest of chapter 1 so that we can listen to it together while I do some more diamond painting. So it's a different type of WIP and Chat, and it's less than half an hour long. So after the recording, then well, we can chat about it. How's that sound? I think that sounds like a good idea. All right. Oh.
Cadius stormed inside,
Wait.
his boots sinking deep into the soil. Stormed inside.
Okay.
Cadius stormed inside, his boots sinking deep into the soil that glittered with flecks of spent vitrium. The tunnel's mouth swallowed him whole, as Rinner remained outside. The mine's ceiling hung low and jagged above him. Condensation dripped from the stone in mournful beads that splashed onto his cloak, cold and clinging as they soaked into the fabric. The walls bore streaks of faint veins of vitrium, pulsing like the life vein of a great beast. A faint steam rose from unseen fissures below, where hot springs leaked through the earth. They warmed the air with a damp heat that mingled with the tunnel's reek of sulfur and moist soil. Ahead of him, a swarm of knocks scurried across the floor. The scaled rats with red eyes that glinted like polished coal in the torchlight. Their claws clicked against the stone like the rapid tapping of tiny hammers. Their tails whipped through the air with a hiss that prickled his ears. It was a sharp and insistent sound, and they moved with an unusual aggression that set his nerves on edge. "Scatter, you thieving pests," he snapped. His scarred lip curled into a grimace as one darted closer than the rest and snatched a rind of carrot from a fallen sack with a triumphant squeak. Its scales shimmered faintly as it ran with a thief's prize glinting in the gloom. The creature skittered into a narrow crack in the wall with a parting flick of its tail. But others didn't flee. They turned toward him with red eyes blazing. 3 larger knocks, their bodies swollen beyond the typical scavenger's size, lunged forward with claws outstretched. Their scales gleamed with a sickly sheen, and their movements carried a purpose that wasn't mere hunger. Cadius swung his torch in a wide arc, and the flames licked at their hides with a crackling hiss. 2 of the creatures squealed as they retreated with singed tails trailing smoke. The third, however, leaped higher. Its claws raked his cloak with a sharp rip that tore a vitrium thread loose. "Dome's wrath," he roared, slamming his boot down with force and crunching the Nox's skull beneath his heel. The impact sent a wet splatter of ichor across the gravel in a dark smear. A pungent stench rose from the corpse, and the remaining Nox skittered back with enraged chirps, their tails lashing in defiance. "You see how they behave?" Rinna shouted. She appeared the tunnel beside him. Oh, she appeared in the tunnel beside him, it should say, her blade flashing in a quick arc as she slashed a warning at another Nox watching from the shadows. They're swarming like they're driven. Something's riling them up. I told you to wait outside, Cadius scowled. Not to be deterred, he cast aside the concern and pressed deeper into the tunnel. The walls tightened around him like a giant's grip closing in. Missing the word A there. Very few mistakes, though. Yeah. The air grew warmer with every step, and the hum increased in intensity until it vibrated through his boots like a tremor warning of collapse. There's 2 in one paragraph. Oh no. Okay. A side passage opened up with newly braced wooden beams standing firm. Wet sap dripped in sticky trails on the rough-hewn supports. The depths ahead flickered with a faint purple glow that pulsed like a heartbeat. Cadius turned toward it, listening intently to the rhythm that reverberated through the stone. A shiver went up his spine until his teeth ached with the sensation. This way, he rasped. He held his torch high as its flame guttered in the thickening haze, casting long shadows that twisted across the walls like living things. Cadius nearly set ablaze the burly miner that crashed into him. The man had a broad frame, hardened by muscle, forged by decades, swinging a pick in shale-strewn depths. He was clad in a patched miner's tunic of muted green, its fabric threading with Clume's radiant dust and ash, frayed at the cuffs from years of toil. His chestnut hair, thick and unkempt, hung shaggy to his shoulders, streaked with faint gray and matted with sweat beneath a battered leather cap that shadowed his brow. Hazel eyes, sharp and piercing, gleamed beneath heavy brows. His weathered face bore high cheekbones etched with fine lines, a rugged canvas threading scars from shale splinters and Nox bites, a faint stubble dusting his jaw with the earthy hue of Braden's soil. "What are you doing running about in the dark?" Cadius demanded. "Who are you?" The man was still in the prime of his life. His calloused hands, thick as girt hide, gripped a thanite-tipped pick, pulsing faintly with Nepton residue. His knuckles scarred white. "Roland is my name, my lord," he replied with a deep rumbling timbre. "You must be the antromancer Cadius. It's good you've come." "What goes on here?" Cadius demanded. Suddenly, a swarm of dozens of Nox flooded the tunnel. A stream of red eyes shone like forge coals, and dozens of scythe-like claws slashed about his feet. "Get against the wall!" Cadius yelled to Rinna. He hurled the torch with all his strength into the center of the swarm. The flames arced through the dark to strike the center of the writhing mass of scales. Should have the word "of" there. With a thought, Cadius willed the torch to explode. Piercing shrieks filled the tunnel as the Nox swarm died. Roland swung his pick furiously, dispatching the creatures by the dozen. "To the void with you!" Rinna yelled. Her blade flashed again and again as it says cleaved, but I think the word clove would be better. One of the smaller Nox in two with a swift stroke, and then struck at others leaping at her from the walls. Her boots slipped on the slick floor, but she steadied herself and kicked another of the creatures with a grunt. Cadius yanked more antrons from his well, using them to pull a large boulder flecked with vitrium from the tunnel wall. He smashed it into another group of Nox with a wet crunch. Their death squeals faded into pitiful gurgles as dark ichor pooled around the floor. Yeah, that sentence, he smashed it into there's the word "the," get rid of the "the." Okay. "You are coming with us," Cadius commanded Roland, who grunted in agreement. "Keep moving," he snapped to Rinna, touching the dome on his head and lighting the way with glowing runes. He snatched a fallen pick from the gravel, its haft splintered and blade dulled from use, and charged down the side tunnel with Rinna and Roland close at his heels. Her panting breath sounded sharp against the hum that grew ever louder with every step. The tunnel soon opened up into a larger room where the left wall had crumbled to rumble. Had crumbled to rubble. A steaming hot spring filled the cavern. The jagged floor was split in two from some earlier earthquake. The floor was scattered with broken stone and bubbling pools whose surfaces shimmered with a mineral sheen. Cadius scrambled down the uneven slope. His boots slipped on jagged rocks that clattered like dice in a street game's wager, and he gasped. A ragged breath tore from his throat and echoed off the cavern's vaulted ceiling, which bristled with glowing purple stalactites of thanite. Roland and Rinna scrambled down beside him. Oh, sorry, I need a quick drink. My throat is starting to hurt a little from all this reading. Such wealth, he exclaimed as his eyes widened. A vast cache of thanite crystals ringed the hot spring, and hundreds of them glowed with an unearthly light. Their purple facets shimmered brightly, their edges sharp as vitrium blades, and they cast fractured rainbows across the cavern walls. Steam curled upward like spectral tendrils dancing in the dim glow. The heat prickled his blistered arm with a faint sting. Above the spring, neptons swirled hypnotically. They spilled through a jagged rift to Secundus. The pulsating tear stood framed by blackened stone. Its edges were frayed like torn flesh and crackled with energy that buzzed in his ears. A chaotic hum pulsed through the air, and the crystals below drank them in, swelling with a light that throbbed in time with the sound. Knocks skittered at the cavern's edges. Dozens of them moved with frantic purpose, and some dragged away chunks of the thanite crystal too large for their jaws. They stumbled over one another in their haste, tumbling into the shadows with sharp squeaks. So this is what has them in a frenzy, Cadius whispered. Concern washed over him as his gray gaze traced the rift's edge. It was too wide, too raw. A wound Clume couldn't heal on its own, and the sight tightened his chest with a mix of awe and dread. An unexpected burst of flame erupted through the rift. It charred the Neptune stream into a blackened crust that shattered like brittle glass. Roland and Rinna fell back as shards rained down onto the crystals with a tinkling crash. The knocks scattered in all directions. Their squeals rose into a piercing chorus that echoed through the cavern. Vicious, curved claws, gleaming black and long as a man's forearm, tore through the rift and ripped the tear wider with a screech that split the air. No, it can't be, Cadius shouted. He yanked Antrons from his well with a surge that strained his tendons. His muscles tightened while veins bulged beneath his weathered skin. Sweat beaded on his silver dome in rivulets that stung his eyes. His breath heaved in ragged gasps as the weight of drawing so much power buckled his knees. He stretched out his hand, too late to stop what emerged. A massive, midnight black, scaly form that was twice the size of a girt flowed through the rift. Its bulk contorted with a serpentine grace that belied its immense mass. Scales glinted like wet coal under the purple glow of the crystals. A ripple of muscle and malice radiated from it as it crashed atop the thanite with a thunderous boom that shook the cavern floor. The impact loosed shale from the ceiling in a flowing shower. Two leathery black wings spanning twice the length of the girt carriage unfolded with a whip crack that echoed off the walls. Veined with thanite like rivers of pulsing power, they snapped open fully, and their tips brushed the stalactites overhead, dislodging one of the stones so that it crashed to the ground. The wings of the Dragonox shielded the creature's prize. It was what it had come for, the thanite. Abraxas the Swift locked predatory red eyes on Cadius. Its slit pupils narrowed to vicious pinpricks, and horns curled back like daggers from a wedge-shaped head. Its obsidian sheen bore scars older than Braden's minds, etched deep into its scales, sorry about that, like a map of ancient battles. Sharp fangs gleamed in a maw that roared with Nepton fire. A purple inferno seared the air with a hiss that scorched his lungs. Black talons, each a wicked crescent longer than a man's arm, dug into the crystals, causing a grating shriek that splintered thanite into glittering dust that shimmered in the cavern's glow. "You thanite thief!" Cadius exclaimed as he hurled a fireball formed from his well, its antron flames creating a blazing orb that streaked through the dark, while trailing sparks like a miner's flare gone wild. Abraxas swatted it aside with a dismissive flick of its wing, a child's toy against a titan, and it fizzled into embers that danced briefly on the cavern floor before their glow snuffed out in the rising steam. "Antromancer," Abraxas's voice rasped through his mind, a grating snarl clawing at his skull. Oh dear, clawing is spelled incorrectly. It's probably just a quick typo. Anyways, its red eyes glinted with a cruel mirth that sent a chill down his spine. The rumble of its presence shook loose more gravel from the walls. This was the source of the low vibration that mingled with the hum of the rift. Cadius felt the weight of the Dragonox's malice pressing against him. He sensed Roland and Rinna scrambling for cover behind a large boulder. "Try this," Abraxas bellowed as Neptons surged into his wings from the surrounding cavern. From his mouth, he released a jet of purple fire directly at Cadius. Cadius filled himself with Neptons as well, and they flooded his veins with a wild buzz that set his nerves ablaze. He raised his scarred arm and willed a Nepton shield that trembled under the strain as Abraxas's flame crashed into it. The torrent of fire blackened the stone around him, leaving a molten scar no mortal could endure. The heat singed even the vitrium metal woven along his cloak's edge. "Back to Secundus with you, worm," Cadius spat as he used his well of antrons to pull rubble onto the Dragonox from behind Abraxas. Rocks hurtled through the air in a barrage that hit directly on the beast's scaled flank, but they did not pierce his gleaming hide. "Feeble prey," Abraxas growled. Its Nepton surge deflected the largest boulders back with a crack that shook the cavern's walls. Dust filled the air in a choking cloud. Smaller stones slipped through his defense, though, and they tore jagged holes in the black wing membranes. The rents oozed a dark, steaming ichor that hissed against the crystals below. The Dragonox bellowed. Its roar shook the cavern as it unleashed an even larger plume of fire. "Perish!" it roared as the heat of the blaze deflected around Cadius, increased like flame from a forge until it formed a searing wall that scorched his lungs with every breath. Cadius grunted with strain as he pulled a spattering of boulders from the cavern floor into a protective wall around him. The antron-hardened surface flared silver as it diverted most of the flame. Tendrils of heat still slipped through, singeing his arm with a sharp burn that blistered the flesh through his sleeve. He gasped for air. Blood seeped from his scorched skin in a slow, dark trickle, as the pain pulsed with every ragged breath. "Cadius!" Rinna sprung from behind cover. To her eyes, it must have appeared that he was being killed by the onslaught. "Back, you fool!" Cadius yelled. He pulled off a sheet of rock the size of the entire wall of the cavern, with antrons sliding it as a larger barrier of protection, and infused Neptons into it. "Get her out of here, Roland!" The vitrium surface hardened and gleamed silver against the purple haze. The shield pulsed with defiance. Roland grabbed Rinna, Oops, Rena was spelled with an extra A. Whoopsies. And tried to drag her away. Abraxas's long tail flicked in response. Clever, its mental snarl grated through his mind. Few of your ancestors have lasted this long against Abraxas the Swift. I might spare your pitiful husk yet. Oops, Kneel should be capitalized. Kneel before me, and I'll take only the thanite, leaving your bones for the Nox to gnaw as they please. Choke on your mercy, Cadius snarled, as he drew more Neptons until his gut twisted with their wild surge. Nausea clawed at him like a bad stew after a spoiled meal. His vision swam, and the cavern's haze blurred at the edges, his shaking legs threatening to drop him back to the rubble. Those two sentences should be combined. Yeah. Crawl back to your shadowed lair, he shouted through gritted teeth, or I'll bury you here. Your scales will be my trophy to hang in the temple's halls. Bold words, Abraxas hissed, its tail lashed again. I'm thinking it should be its tail lashing again. Yeah. Anyways, I came for thanite, but I'll linger to snap your spine and claim this village as slaves. Its maw flared wide. Nepton fire gathered in a blue glow that lit the cavern like the sun. Heat radiated outward, pressing against Cadius's skin with a suffocating weight. You'll claim nothing, Cadius bellowed. His vision doubled as he drew even more power. The cavern spun around him while his blood pounded in his ears. He staggered forward, his footing unsteady. You face a bale-red antromancer. Tremble before my line's might, you rift-born blight. Cadius slammed the wall forward with a grunt that tore from his throat like a man's dying curse. The edge carved through the stone floor as it swept through the pools and thanite crystals like a blade honed by the temple's finest smiths. It struck Abraxas with bone-rattling force, and a tremor shook the cavern. Then it stopped, the wall's momentum ground to a halt. Oh, the word walls should be spelled differently. Abraxas's laughter slithered off the walls as it pushed back against the wall. Too many the walls right there. Might need to rewrite that a little. Anyways, black talons clawed the earth with a fury that gouged deep furrows into the ground. Step by begrudging step, Abraxas pushed the metal wall back. Bale red, it grunted, its red eyes flaring with a predator's rage. That cursed line was extinguished long ago, Abraxas snarled. Not while I breathe, Cadius yelled, and he gathered every shred of Antron's strength left within him. His chest heaved like a bellows stoked past its breaking point as he shouted, Fall! I think you should get rid of the word A. So it says, his chest heaved like bellows stoked past its breaking point. He pulled the vitrium overhead with all his might. The ceiling buckled above them, and rocks crashed down in a deafening roar. Cadius dove for the tunnel where Rinna and Roland struggled to escape. A massive boulder smashed into his leg, splitting flesh to the bone. The blood soaked his robe in a dark bloom that pooled beneath him on the gravel. Pain lanced through him like a white-hot blade. He grunted as he rolled towards the passage, but he would never make it. Then strong hands, it should say hands, grabbed his arm and dragged him into the tunnel. It was Roland, pulling him to safety while shielding Cadius with his body. Stone fell all around them. Through a narrow gap in the falling rubble, Abraxas thundered, A coward's trick! It braced the collapsing roof with its sinewy bulk. Its left wing was shredded under a falling stone. At last, the Dragonox retreated through the rift to Secundus. The mountain gave way, and the entire cavern collapsed. Cadius gasped in pain. Roland lay dead next to him, a pool of blood seeping from the boulder that crushed his skull. Darkness claimed Cadius. His holy duty faded to an ember in his mind at Rinna's shout, which was swallowed by the void, as silence fell over the rubble-strewn cavern. And that is the end of chapter 1. Very, very few mistakes. Of course, I did point them out as I was reading.
So there you have it, folks. Please, in the comments below, let me know what you think of the story so far. The writer, Brian Ferentz, would love to get feedback, and I know I would love to get feedback. I think it's an interesting beginning to a story. I can't wait to see what happens. Did Cadius survive? Did Rinna survive? Does Abraxas come back? Very interesting. That's what I think. Very, very interesting. So, yeah, I'm excited. Very excited. I love reading books. And since creating my own YouTube channel, I've been reading way less than I used to. Because, you know, I've been busy with too many YouTube channels. Too much going on right now with all these YouTube channels that I'm watching. It is so hard to keep up. I've now started watching certain ones at 2 times the speed. And I know some of you are like, how can you understand what's going on? Well, excuse me. Well, apparently I can. I got used to the 1.5. Originally I was doing the 1.25, and then I went up to 1.5, and now I'm at 2 times the speed. It's just a matter of getting used to it. And, well, yeah, I've gotten used to it. So as long as I'm focused and concentrating and paying attention and all of that boring, wonderfully boring stuff, yeah. Oh, I was watching a video where they were talking about this one movie. Yeah, watching a live stream replay, and they were talking about this one movie. And this was actually the second time that they had the subject of this movie had come up. So, and they're like, well, yeah, you can watch it on YouTube. So I paused the video, and I found the movie and I watched it, and oh yeah, it was crazy. The movie is it's a few years old, and it's called Freeze Frame. It's very dark. Like the video itself, like the lighting is very dark. But it's also, I thought it was very well done. It just like well, I was laying in bed while watching it. But if I had been sitting in a chair, it's like I would have been sitting on the edge of my seat type movie. Suspense. Oh yeah, it was like quite the movie. Yeah, it's about the main character is this guy who, in 1993, he was accused of unaliving a mother and her 6-year-old twin daughters, and almost unaliving the father. But I think it was a jury. He was found innocent in court. But the police officer that arrested him and a forensic psychologist or a forensic guy, investigator or whatever, very rotund fellow, both strongly believed that he was the guilty party who had done such an atrocious act. Anyways, after that particular day, the main character, for the next 10 years, he recorded literally every second of his life. Like, he recorded himself sleeping, he recorded himself on the toilet. Oh yeah. And he keeps every single little video cassette that he recorded. He keeps them, every single one of the recordings is labeled and kept in what he kept in a vault. 10 years worth of recordings. And then all of a sudden, on the anniversary of the incident, all of a sudden his life is thrown into chaos again. The police bust down his door and question him about another individual who went missing 5 years previous. And so they ask him, where were you on such and such a date between this time and this time? And he's like, well, where were you? What were you doing? It's like, who can remember 5 years previous on a specific day at a specific time? And he's like, well, let me go into the vault and I'll get the recordings for you. He goes into the vault. That particular day, those particular hours, the tapes are missing. Yeah. So he makes a run for it. And he actually runs to the house of the rotund forensic investigator dude. And he's like, where are the... And he confronts the guy and he's like, well, I know you stole them. Where are they? Yeah, he confronts he confronts the guy. Doesn't get the answer that he wanted. There's a little bit of a scuffle. He did have a knife. He was threatening the guy with a knife, but he got hurt. the guy managed to get the knife away from him, cut his hand with it, and well, he ran off, and the knife got left behind. So then he ends up surrendering himself to the police. And so they go through the questioning, and he pulls out, so he has recordings like from that particular day from 5 years previous, and unfortunately during the period of time when he doesn't have the recordings, he basically they tried charging him, and then it turns out that anyways, it was quite an interesting movie. Lots of twists, unexpected surprises, truths. Yeah. And I actually like how they ended the movie. I thought it was done really well. The actor that played the main character, he was really good. The actors who played the cop and the forensic guy, oh yeah, I hated those characters. I thought it was pretty well done. But yeah, you can watch it for free on YouTube. Yeah, and to find it, you actually have to type in freeze frame movie. Because I typed in freeze frame, and it brought up everything but the movie. It did bring up a movie trailer for it. But, yeah. They did mention another movie that, I can't remember the name of it, so I'll have to rewatch that video to get the name of it. But, yeah, so I watched that. That was a really neat movie. Oh, and I do believe my final package will be getting delivered today to my friend's place, hopefully. She said she's got a full box of stuff to send me, and she said she's gonna ship it as soon as she can. So I'm excited, and I'm looking forward to that. It'll give me more cross stitch kits to work on. Give me some more diamond paintings to do. Yay! I'm excited. Excited. Oh yes, I am excited. Yes. What else? I'm still waiting to hear back from I emailed two writers. One of which, of course, is the one that I just finished reading. I'll dig through what I've got and see what other books of his I've got. But I've got like rough copies, like not the final cut. And I emailed the other writer that I emailed. I was junior copy editor for her, so I'm waiting for her to get back to me, because she's the one, like, I want to read her Alice in Wonderland books to you guys, if she's okay with it. Because those, I actually have the paperback copies of them that she sent me, and she autographed them for me. Yeah. So yeah, I would love to read those to you guys, because that's the complete set. It's 4 books, and yeah, it's like free advertising for her books. But yeah, once she gets back to me, I will definitely let you guys know. And then the one that I really want to read to you guys, and like his books, oh my god, I could be reading to you guys his books for years, because he's got a lot of books. And that's the writer Shane Silvers. But he's kind of gone into seclusion a little bit. But I did post a message in his Facebook group, and a couple of his administrators messaged me back, responded to my comment, and said just keep checking. He might respond at some point. Yeah. Because, yeah, it's been months since the last time he posted anything, really. Because, well, he's a busy man. Oh, there's another 4 there. Which is understandable. He's got, like, well, there's the 3 series that are, like, intertwined. There's, okay, let's see. There's the Temple series, the Templeverse, Fires and Feather, and the third one, I keep forgetting the name of it, but there's 3 series of books. They're intertwined, and then there's and then he's got a vampire series. That's a cool series, about the very first original actual vampire. Of course, it's like totally made up. This is the vampire that actually created Dracula. Yeah. And yeah, it's like really, yeah, I've read the first book. It was really cool. I might have read more, but I cannot remember, because it's been a while. But yeah, I'm really hoping I might just email him, actually. I might just email him and ask him in that way. Of course, any videos, like if my channel ever becomes monetized, because of fair use laws and copyright laws and all of that stuff, I would just not have monetization There we go. I would just not have it turned on for the videos where I read his particular books. Even though it would be considered fair use if like I read it and review it and all of that stuff. I would still like, yeah, of course I would do whatever would be required of me to have an you know, like have an agreement with the author, so that it doesn't go to like court, so that there's no reason for any writers to sue me for copyright infringement or anything. But yeah, basically just like if they're okay with me reading it, great. If they're okay with me if they're okay with me monetizing the videos, awesome. If they're not okay with that, that's fine too. I won't monetize those videos. I am perfectly fine with that. But I really hope that he lets me read them, because yeah, they're really good books. And it would kind of give me an extra excuse to get the books. Because, well, I could read them on Kindle Unlimited, but I would rather actually buy the books and have them, like, buy the physical books. Excuse me. I've read some of them on Kindle Unlimited. I own a few in paperback, and I even own a few ebooks of his series, different series. Yeah. So, yeah, I would love to be able to do that. But we'll see. We'll see how things go. That is loud. Yeah, these are really rough drills. I've noticed most drills are rough. They feel rough to my hands. But anyways, all right, so please, I know I don't say this very often, but please like, subscribe, hit that notification bell, leave a comment below in the comment section. Please let me know what you think of the book, the story, what I read so far of the story, and what you think of it, and all of that wonderful stuff. And please, I'm looking for feedback. And if you've left comments before, you'll know that I do read and respond to comments. So please reach out. I love reading comments. And I guess that's it for this video. I got through that section pretty fast, considering most of the time I was not having to talk. Okay, until next time. Bye.